Hi, guys. If you're just joining us, it's Raza Siddiqui and Sarah Sadat on an issue of media essential workers. We have two guests that we're very excited to have. As many of you know, that a lot of our sports productions have completely been decimated with the COVID-19 epidemic going on. And we just wanted to shed light on some of the people who are out here helping our freelancers, helping our sports community. And upon reaching out to some of our people, it was just amazing to me to find two of these people who are going to be joining us as guests today. A lot of our viewers might know them. They're very active in the Dallas-Fort Worth community among sports freelancers, and I'm going to give them a chance to introduce themselves. Popping up first here is Scott, and coming up next is Toast. Scott, let's start with you. Tell me a little about who you are, what you do, and then we're going to get into what it is that you do that really intrigued us enough to get you on the show to talk about what it is you do. Scott, tell us about yourself.
Well, my name is Scott Dailey. I am a technical director in the sports market of Dallas-Fort Worth. This is my 30th year of doing broadcasting in this market, and that's my job. Toast is actually one of the guys that I started with as an A2. So I've had an ongoing relationship with him for a long time.
So we've got a lot of people who are technicians who are watching this and understand what A2 means. Tell us a little about what it is that you do and what an A2 is, just for our viewers who are not as familiar with broadcast.
Well, an A2 is an assistant to the main mixer. Toast, in the situations when I worked with him, was an A1. So he was in the truck, and he would be in charge of mixing the show and establishing all the communications throughout the truck and sending various feeds to replay decks, program audio, IFB audio to talent, all kinds of different mixes. And the A2 is the field tech. The A2 goes out into the field and establishes microphone feeds and private line feeds and IFB feeds for the talent that they can communicate with the truck. So A2 is kind of a fireman.
Oh, well, so Toast, actually reading about what you do, and I have to hear how you got the nickname Toast because that's fascinating. But what else is fascinating is some of the other stuff you did. I think like a lot of people in broadcast, you fell into this. You were doing something that you were passionate about, a musician by trade, still a musician, part of a band. Tell us about the band, but first tell us why they call you Toast.
Well, when we were doing Southwest Conference football, and Fridays it would take about a half a day to set up. And at that time, for that thing, I was an A2 actually, and we would get set up, and then we'd have the open field, and we would go out there and play football. And I'm pretty slow, so they said whoever Tim's covering, go deep. And I got burned several times on a guy named Brad Sheldon and Dave Rowe, former Oakland Raider, who was our color commentator. They nicknamed me Toast, and I didn't like it at first. However, I came into remote television through the entertainment industry, and as it turned out, if you're doing entertainment, they don't want a sports mixer. It's like, this guy can't mix music. He's not going to be able to mix comedy and audience response. And by the same token, in sports, it's like, this guy's an entertainment mixer. What's he going to know about intercom or phone interfaces or any of the sports thing? So Toast did sports and Tim Record did entertainment. And it kept me from getting put in a drawer. So my contacts with Cinemax or HBO or some of the other entertainment clients that I had didn't know me as Toast. They knew me as Tim Record, and I was their music mixer. And then Toast was the sports guy, and they didn't know who Tim Record was.
That's fabulous. And, you know, I'll tell you this, you sometimes get typecast. And I know in the work that I've done in the past, sometimes you want to, in our industry, they call it double dipping, but at the same time. So I remember having two different companies for two different clients for doing stuff. But that's a very good idea, is that you had your own persona for different industries. And it seems like now pretty much everyone knows you can do the job no matter what name you use. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's been a long time since I've been worried about being put in a drawer. Although I will say, because of the advent of, first it was digital modular multi-track machines like ADATs and that sort of thing. And now, people's studios are on their laptops at home. And so the entertainment industry, unless you're, you have a production company or there's not as much of that kind of availability. If you live in Dallas, I'd have to be in Los Angeles or New York or something. So I don't really do very much entertainment anymore. And sports kind of overtook it, probably 25 years ago. And there was so much work in sports. That's why we thought sports would never go away. I mean, hurricanes, floods, whatever, live sports is not going to go away. Well, now we found out that that's not true.
I mean, it's completely something shocking to all of us. And I know we have a lot of people in sports who are watching this. I deal with a lot of people in news, but I've had the opportunity to meet several of your colleagues just throughout this devastating process. Let's get into it. I want to talk a little about your music first before we got into what it is you're doing. Tell us about the band you're currently in and what type of music you perform. I also see in your bio here you work for the Willie Nelson Cowboy Network. Is that right?
I did. And I started as a musician in high school, and I worked in radio when I was a senior in high school. And I've never really had a real job, I don't guess. And I learned about audio through necessity. I had to bring my microphones and set them up if I was playing in a club or whatever. And I've never really made a living as a musician, but it was just something that I kind of have always done. And the current band, the Dirty Merkins, we got together as a group of audio guys from Dallas that just enjoyed playing music. We were all old guys by then. This was 15 years ago or so. And we would play in each other's living rooms. And then some people would start to come. And next thing you know, it's too big for the living room. So we go to a club and we say, hey, we're going to provide music for you for free on a Monday night. You provide, maybe a couple $100 tab for the band for drinks. And we're going to have 100 professional film and television people come to your bar, eat your food, drink. You're going to have a big Monday night. It was very hard to explain, but that's kind of how it evolved.
That's fantastic. I know every time I've tried to go to a bar and tell them that I'd like to throw something like that, the bouncer usually grabs me and throws me right out. So it's great to see that actually working. Scott, I want to get to you. I want to talk about some of the stuff you've done and how you came across, and this is what this show is about today. It's about people helping each other out, how you came to build actually tell us about it. Tell us the name and what it's designed to do and what inspired you to do it. I think you would tell that story. Yeah.
We have an organization that's very loose. It's not, there's nothing set in stone. It's called Stevie Bucks. And Stevie Bucks came about from one of our freelancers who has since passed, who was dealing with lung cancer. Steve was a long-time tape and camera guy in the market, and he was also my neighbor. We'd had the opportunity to raise money for people that we worked with before, but because Steve was my neighbor, I was very involved and single. I was very involved in helping him at times, just because he was so close. And two things happened at that time. The Dirty Merkins were starting up, doing some events, and Tim had raised some money through the Dirty Merkins, just as you got a 5-gallon bucket out in front of the band and people come drop money in. And I don't remember how much money you raised on that.
Well, the first one was, I believe this was like spring of 2011, maybe. And it was when Stevie first was unable to work because of his illness. And well, let's make this guy's house payment at least, do something. So we just sent out some invites and brought some people into a place called Lee Harvey's, and we did an outdoor concert. And that was the first charity effort that we did, specific to what had led to Stevie Bucks ultimately. And I believe that night it was in the neighborhood of $1,800, maybe something. I know it was more than 1,000, but less than 2,000. It was somewhere in there. And that's where it all kind of started.
You guys must have a very tight-knit community of freelancers that you all came out to help a coworker like that. And just to explain to our viewers who are not in the freelancing world, I myself am a freelancer as well. it's pretty much every person for their own. I mean, like you go out there, you work, you get paid, and that's how you get paid, by your sweat, by your effort. And it's a very risky proposition if you're not working. Like you said, house payments aren't met in situations like this. I mean, we've just dealt with devastating circumstances. So that's what got me interested in what you guys are doing, that you stepped up and helped someone. So tell me kind of, I think I a little bit lost my train of thought, but in the freelance world where there isn't a lot of safety net, you guys started creating the crux of a safety net. Tell me about that. How were you inspired to do that? And how did the community come together? Because 1,800, it's a good turnout.
We had actually had an event before this that was organized by some, I don't even remember who organized the one for Jay Toast, but we had a big barbecue because we had another coworker who was going through cancer so bad that he was isolated in the hospital because of the treatment. Oh. And I want to say we raised $18,000 on that one, but that one was very well organized. We had an auction. We had broadcasters that had donated weird things for people to bid on. I can't mention some of the things that they were donated. They were kind of disgusting. But we do have a very tight-knit group. It's not the same group of people every day that we work, but there's a core group of people that is central to the broadcast. Toast works on the home broadcast, and I work on the visiting broadcast. And we typically are in the same general area, but God, we have 35, 40 people, maybe more, that are working on two different broadcasts at the same time, one for the visiting show and one for the home show. And that core group of people is supplemented by sometimes people from out of town, sometimes people that may have full-time jobs and it's freelance as a supplement to their income. But because we are on our own, it just became a way to encourage people. Because as an individual, I can't go out and drop $3,000 and help somebody out. But as a group, that's something we can do. And the first event that kind of got organized, besides the concert that they did at Lee Harvey's, I forgot the name of it. How could I forget that? We had a garage sale. And I mean, I was driving around for days picking up junk. Every day that I was driving a Mini Cooper at the time, and it would be filled to the brim with stuff sticking out of it that people had brought to work. And I sold all of that stuff, and we raised $3,300. And that and the concert at Lee Harvey's was the beginning of Stevie Bucks. And it just became a very loose, unorganized way to support our coworkers. And since that time, we've probably had 10 different events at least where we've had people that were undergoing some kind of medical need is where it's typically been focused. But then the hurricane that hit Houston, I forgot which hurricane it was. We ended up
Harvey, right?
We ended up raising $3,300 for that one. And at that point, everything up until then had been cash. But since I don't live in Houston, it's hard to send cash to the mail. So I started a checking account and started sending out checks to people that we work with in the Houston market. And since that time, it has done nothing but to continue to grow. What started out as a garage sale and a concert has, at latest count, gone to something over $54,000 over the last 6 years.
That's phenomenal. And is it people in Texas, the freelancing community in Texas, that you guys concentrate on, or have you expanded to anyone who reaches out to you? How exactly does it work? And actually, Tim, let me have you, or Toast, let me have you take that. And I got to say here, just reading the comments from Troy Winter, I do agree. You got a great,
Hey, Troy.
you got a great hat. And another comment he makes, it's about it being a small fraternity. It absolutely seems like that. The fact that you guys have that sense of community, it's got me thinking that when this is all over and the world kind of resumes back to normal, we're all out there working again, I got to come party with you guys, because you guys seem like the frat house I want to be a part of.
Well, the Dallas freelance community is pretty tight because we do a lot of things together, and simple day-to-day things. We used to have at the ballpark, we had a grill there, and everybody would bring meat and we would cook for lunch. So every day we would have a picnic almost until security tightened down and we can't do that anymore. But most of the freelance community is tight. Troy Winter, for example, he's in Austin, and he moved there from somewhere up northeast, and everybody kind of knows everybody in some way. It's a very small community. And also there are a lot of people. It's a very interesting job. It's a lot of fun. You're doing, live entertainment or sporting events, and you meet famous people, and you get to work with each other. You're doing audio, setting up microphones, running cameras. It's things that people think would be a lot of fun. And it is. So there's a long line of people waiting to take those jobs. And for that reason, and everybody's a freelancer and the job is exciting. So they don't have to keep you around if you're a jackass. So if somebody's, rubs people the wrong way, you're not a good guy, where you're not around very long, and there's somebody waiting right there. So freelance production television people, just in general, is a really good filter, is a good good group of people in general. Because if you're not a good guy, even if you're really good at what you do, if you rub people the wrong way too much, you're kind of not around long. There's a few exceptions to that, and I won't mention it. But,
they say that about freelancers, because you can teach someone a skill, right? You can kind of teach them how to do certain things, but you can't teach them a personality and a mindset, and you can't teach them how to get along with people and how to just be a good, positive person. And we find that a lot too, that these are the things that make people want to hang out with you, keep calling you, keep you on that list. Like you said, very competitive. I'm in the news business myself. Sarah understands that when I go out there, I better have a pleasant personality, unlike in the house, because otherwise I'm going to be spending a lot more time in the house. But you're absolutely right. It's one of those things where you have to go out there and be a team player, be likable. And it seems like that's exactly the community that you have. Like Troy says, we should be doing a road trip. It seems like this is the crew to do it with.
Yeah, and be good at it, because if you're not good at it, it's live television. So if too many times in a row they go to an announcer and his mic's not open and his lips are flapping, I'm not around long. So the people, they have to be good as well. And there's a long pull of people waiting to take those jobs. So you got to be good at what you do, and you got to be a good person. And TV crews in general, freelance TV crews, are exceptionally professional, proficient. I've met very few that weren't good at what they did, and if they were, they didn't last very long.
Sorry, do you have any questions specifically related to the sports live free world?
No, you know what? It was really interesting just to kind of hear from you guys where you came from and where you guys ended up and how you formed this fraternity. Seems like you guys had each other's back even before coronavirus took over, right? So what are some of the challenges that you guys are facing right now with everything that's at our doorstep as far as freelancers go?
Scott, you'd know better than I who's, how many people have really been in need. I'm in good shape. My wife still works. I've got a sugar mama now, so I'm.
Me too.
I don't know how.
You got something like the relationship that Raza and I have.
Nice. I don't know how I had time to work before. I got so much stuff going on around the house, and we're the band. We're doing remote recording where I'll record some basics or something. I'll take the WAV files, send it off to Ronnie, and they'll record, and they'll send me the video files, and. That project has been a lot of fun. We've got 6 or 7 songs in the works, and it's time consuming, cleaning out the garage, whatever. Mm-hmm. I don't know how I had time to do it. How I had time.
So you got a lot of requests kind of coming through to hear your music, to kind of get those projects still continuing to going right now. Because I mean, honestly, staying at home at this time, it's limiting not just like on our health, on our mental status. It's just where we are at this point. So music, just like any arts out there, just kind of lifts our spirits up. So the fact that you guys are doing that, that's fantastic, along with raising money and looking out for the little guys that are out there. I think that that's a very commendable thing. So when I heard about this from Raza, I was like, oh my God, we definitely need to get you guys on here and tell us your story. How, like, if for the people that are out there watching, how can they help? Like, what can they do to further your cause?
Yeah, tell us a little about how you give to Stevie Bucks, how you participate in this. If you're a freelancer watching this, because we have freelancers from all over the country. I think it was it last week we had Larry Lage, who's doing something in terms of raising money for sports production technicians who are out of work from in Michigan, and we got a lot of interaction with that as we are today. I mean, it's a very global community. It's a big frat house of what we do. It's not very localized. So there are a lot of people who want to know how to help. And of course, even I got to plug this. We support our sports freelancers. I'm having our news guys wear this because at the end of the day, we're out there doing the same thing, albeit not exactly the same. It's our people doing the work that we all love and are all inspired by. And in news, we stand with you guys, just like we know you would stand with us if the situation was turned. Tell us, how do we support what you guys are doing? Scott, we'll start with you.
Well, this effort that was brought to your attention was a GoFundMe account that started by Mark Followell. Mark is the play-by-play announcer for the Dallas Mavericks. And he had contacted one of our camera guys, Eric Norberg, and wanted to know how he could help. Eric is in a leadership position in this area. And Eric and I go way back, and he knew what Toast and I had done with Stevie Bucks, and he put Mark in touch with me. And Mark and Josh Borgad, who's, I always say his name, Bogarad, and Dave Raymond. Josh is the play-by-play announcer for the Dallas Stars. Dave is the play-by-play announcer for the Texas Rangers. They sponsored a GoFundMe account in my name, which is kind of weird because the money filters through me when it goes through Stevie Bucks, but it had to have a name on it. And their initial goal was $5,000. And I've got a picture of it. I don't know if that's okay to show it or not.
Please do.
This is the site. It's and I'm not sure we'll be able to even see it. Nah, it's not going to show up.
You know what? Sarah will punch it up right now.
Yeah, go ahead and email it to me, and then
how would I do that?
You know what? I've got the email. I'll send it to her, and she'll pop it up on the screen right now. But yeah, continue to tell us a little about it.
Well, it's the DFW Sports Television Broadcast Freelancers is how you get to that site. Right now, $13,700 has been raised with a $15,000 goal. But I think what's more important for people to understand, this is an effort that they started to support freelancers in the Dallas-Fort Worth market. And I think when you're doing something like this, it needs to be specific to your community of people that you work with. If somebody came to me from New York and said, hey, I want to donate to Stevie Bucks, I'm not turning it down. I'm always looking for an opportunity to be an encouragement to somebody. But this kind of effort is not that hard to do. You take these kind of things and you throw it out there and say, who would like to help? And somebody becomes the point person on it, and they gather, in our case, cash, and you show up at somebody's doorstep with an envelope. And if you've never done that, it's a lot of fun to give somebody else's money away. And I don't mean that to be crass in any way, because whenever somebody is struggling financially, through no fault of their own, whenever they've had a medical issue come up, and you show up and you sit down with them and you give them a check for $1,000 or $1,500, the look on their face, not because you've given them money, but because you showed up to be an encouragement is priceless. There's nothing that's better than being on somebody's side when they're struggling. And you want to feel good, help somebody out when you're struggling. And if you're struggling and you want to feel better, go help somebody out.
Absolutely love that you guys put this together. And I remember one of the conversations we had, Scott, was I asked you, was there any help from the union or doing that? And you were like, this was something that we did on our own. This was something that we did regardless of union affiliation, whatever else. This was us helping our brothers and sisters in what we do. And I thought that was just so noble and just stepping up and helping people. So Toast, tell us what's your feeling on that?
Well, it's, anytime that you can, like Scott said, anytime you can help somebody else out, even if you're in the same situation, it's like if everybody gathers together, it's like everything gets buoyed up, together. One guy's sinking, the other guy can pull them up. And it's really nice to see the play-by-play guys step up like they did. I thought that was pretty cool. And they are pretty tight with the community. The freelance camera guys, audio guys, tape operators are not separate from the people on camera. And a lot of that has to do with our events, with our Merkin Nation gatherings. We'll get together, and sometimes some of the on-camera people will have an idea for a song that they might want to do, and they'll come up, maybe do a little skit, whatever. We have different. It's always interesting. It's always different, and nobody, even the people, myself organizing it, knows exactly how this is going to turn out. We end up doing. For example, we'll talk about what songs we may want to do, and we'll get up and the slogan for the band is, it's better to drink and jam than rehearse and still suck. And that's exactly what we'll talk about. Okay, we're going to do these 24 songs, and 22 of those songs we have never, ever played together. The first time we played them was right there in front of 100 people. Let's see how this goes. And the announcers and directors, producers, people that you would think of as being above the line or whatever, are all involved in it. Our hockey producer and his wife, they'll normally do a couple songs. She was a number 6 finisher in American Idol the year that Carrie Underwood won. So she was, like number 6 and man, that girl can sing just about anything. And we'll toss an idea. Hey, how about if we do Adele, Rolling in the Deep? Okay. We never rehearse it. We never talk about it again. The first time we hear how she does it and she hears how we do it is that night on stage in front of 100 people. And it's really a blast. And that kind of environment is what has pulled everybody from a utility that's been working for 6 months with the executive producer of the network and the announcer that's on air. And it's all kind of one tight community.
That's awesome. And Scott, one of the things I saw that you are selling for Stevie Bucks t-shirts right now, right? Tell me about what's going on with there. And so we got to cut our check for that as well, because they were very reasonably priced. And more importantly than that,
Sugar Mama coming right up.
They are helping people. They're absolutely helping people. This is the fun that we're talking about. Tell us about what it is that you're doing.
Well, I have one. Steve was an artist. I wish I had an example of his artwork here. I should have emailed you one. I have always wanted to do a t-shirt with Steve's artwork, but I haven't got anybody that has been able to translate that artwork yet. So I thought, I want to make a t-shirt and raise some money. So right now, what we decided to do was on the front here, you can see Stevie Bucks on the pocket. These are now available. I'm offering them for $25 plus shipping. Shipping's not that much on these things. And Steve was known for a lot of sayings. You know how people have the same 5 stories and tell them over and over and over, and they forget they've told them. Steve had all of these sayings, and he would use them to death, and they just became his shtick. Like if you had a timeout during the middle of a game, and it had been dragging on, Steve would scream from tape, "Time back in!" Or if something bad happened in tape, he would key his mic on. I can be replaced. So he had all these sayings, and one of them that really reflected Steve's spirit was how generous he was. So on the back of the shirt, you can see here, if I got a biscuit, you got a bite. And Tennis Shoe was Steve's name. His last name was Tennyson, and it got shortened to Tennis Shoe. So Steve's giving spirit inspired Stevie Bucks, and now these T-shirts are available for $25. I don't know any other way for people to reach me if they want one other than to put my Facebook out there. They can message me.
Can we put the Facebook out there? Because again, we want to make sure everyone can get what they need to get and provide kind of support for this excellent foundation that you guys are trying to get off the ground. So would that be okay if we then put your Facebook on there?
That'd be perfect.
Sorry, you know what? Put mine on there too, because if anyone contacts me, I'm going to tell them how to contact you directly. So let's go ahead and get that message out there. I also have tagged both of you guys in the post going on. Feel free to accept that. I know most of your friends down in your area already know about this wonderful foundation. The point of this podcast and platform was to get it out to the broader freelancer community, just so everyone knows kind of what's going on. But do feel free to share that as well, so that your friends, they should have gotten a message that this was going on, but so that they can see it directly live. But what an excellent idea. And I know Sarah's punching up your Facebook right now at Scott Dailey.
Well, when they see it, there's a picture of a sunset in El Paso with me on it. And if they need to friend me or do whatever they need to do, I'll answer. And takes me a little while to get the T-shirts. But if they want one, I'll be glad to send them one. I hope to keep on doing stuff like this. As long as I'm in this business, I want to be encouragement to the people I work with. And so far we've helped, I don't know, in this latest one, we helped 25 people. There was 130 of us on an email list that freelance in this area. That's not all of us, but it's most of us. And 25 people got checks that probably somewhere reflected a day rate. Some of them, there were 4 people that had medical issues that we helped more than a day rate. And what Mark and Josh and Dave started, they trusted me with that kind of money. I felt like I needed some accountability. So I put up a request to 5 other people to join me as a board. We called ourselves a council to oversee those funds. And we met on the computer because we couldn't hang out together, and just organized how we wanted to distribute this money. And we had some criteria. First of all, we looked at who had medical needs, who had ongoing medical needs in our community. Second, we had the Dallas Stars and Dallas Mavericks both stepped up and paid some freelancers that were booked on their in-house shows. Oh. If you were booked on their shows, then they got paid for doing those shows to the end of the year, which was huge shout out to them for doing that. So those people had some income coming already, which was great. So they got a lower portion. And then people that were freelancers in the broadcast side that didn't have that organized backing, we set about a day rate in reflection to them. And right now, Stevie Bucks, I'm going through the process of getting it set up as a 501c3. I got documents from the lawyer yesterday, so I've got to fill those out and start an account, got a tax ID number and all that stuff. So what started off with a garage sale for Steve, and then after Steve's passing, I had a garage sale of junk, and I started with $400, And on the first garage sale I had him, I think I made $1,000 on the second one, but $400 I sent to a freelancer in San Antonio that also was dealing cancer. So if Steve could look down right now and realize that his collection of comic books and sports memorabilia and junk started with $400 and has now given away $54,000, he'd be thrilled. He would be laughing.
Wow. And so this continues with the shirts. I'm sure when all this is lifted, you guys will get together and do more stuff with the band. Is that correct? I mean, what are the main sources of how you get these donations? Is it the band? Is it the shirts? Is it a collaboration of all of these? And we'll start with Toast.
Well, it's a lot of times it's something comes up, somebody has a need, and we put a note on the truck door, and there's a manila envelope, and hey, so and so can't come to work because he hurt his foot on the gate over at Jerry World or whatever, and we that's how a lot of it happens. And then also everybody's aware, and I'm not sure, Scott, how many people will just kind of from time to time, donate some money because they had a extra good week that week, or we had an overtime or something like that. But it just kind of, I think word of mouth is probably the main thing. And every once in a while we'll have an event. And the guy that's the inspiration for this, Steve Tennyson, he was a pretty special guy. If you want to get a sense for who he was, and one of his sayings, if you go on YouTube, go to Toast TV, and it's Toast TEEVEE, Toast TV, and there's a video there that put up years ago when Steve passed as his memorial, and it's called "He's My Ride," remembering Steve Tennyson, and where "He's My Ride" came from. The camera guy over in left field was feeling ill, and we knew he was going, "Hey, how you hanging in there, Hefe?" Yeah. So, man, I have to keep running there. I've got to go. I can't stay. I have to leave. I'm sick. And then you hear Steve's poppy go, "He's my ride." Like I'm leaving too, and he was an amazing guy. And you'll hear a lot of stories. If you go to that video, "He's My Ride," remembering Steve Tennyson. Everybody, we each did like testimonials, and there's several stories on there about the funny things that Steve did. Everything from sitting in a pile of garlic fries to smashing a squirt gun. It'd be worth a look for you, particularly Raza, now that you're hearing something of what this guy inspired. That's kind of what is behind all this, the inspiration of that guy.
Oh, absolutely. And Sarah has put that up. Would you just check Toast and make sure that the YouTube is correct?
There it comes right there.
Yep, right at the bottom, right over here. And this will give
TV. Yep, that's it.
Yep. This will give our viewers an idea of the gentleman that inspired the movement that both of our guests today, Scott Dailey and Tim Toast Record, have tributed by basically helping to start a fund to raise money for the daily hire freelance community in the sports world. And it's just such a great thing that when Sarah Sadat, myself, Raza Siddiqui, when we heard about this, we usually do this show locally, but I was like, you know what, we got to get the message out. We got to get the message out about what you two are doing and the gentleman who inspired it, because it's just such a great story. Collaboratively that you guys have come together as a freelance community. Like Troy Winters here says, it sounds like quite the frat house. It sounds like exactly the place that I'd want to be. And if Sarah would allow it, she seems like she's doing something else, I'm going to be there. Actually, she's always wanted to go to Texas. I've been to Austin, love it. Been to San Antonio, love it. Have never been to Dallas, but it looks like I have two guys to have a beer with when I can get out there now.
Absolutely.
So we want to thank you guys again. It looks like we've had an influx of viewers. Sorry, if you could put up again the page for the fund. I want to make sure everyone who's watching knows how they can donate to this wonderful cause to basically to help freelancers in the Dallas-Fort Worth community be able to, if they're ill, if they're sick, if they're hurt, be able to get back on their feet. And again, just for all our new viewers, if we could just have you one last time, Scott, because I know I'm taking up your Saturday, but tell us what it is that you do.
Well, 20 years ago, I moved into the TV truck. I was an A2, started out working with Toast. Then I became a camera guy. I lived in San Antonio at the time, and I did what I needed to make money. Sometimes I needed a camera guy, sometimes I needed an A2. And then when I moved to this area, we had two technical directors that lived in this area that retired. And they were flying people in from Houston all the time. And I thought, man, if I learned a TD, I could get a lot of work because I could save them money, and I could take all this work from these guys that are flying in from Houston. So I moved inside the truck and started technical directing. So for the last 20 years, I've been sitting next to the director, mashing buttons. He says it, I try to make it happen.
Fantastic. And Toast, we'll hear from you. Just give us a synopsis. Tell us again how your band helped raise some funds and started this, and what you guys continue to do.
Well, I came from Austin. I started in Austin. Well, not originally, but playing in bands and worked in radio. And when I was living in Austin, I did some recording and produced some things and worked in some of the recording studios. And then I started working at KLRU, the PBS station, and worked on Austin City Limits for about 6 years. And then started doing remote TV. From my first remote experience was mixing the music for Jerry Lewis Telethon in Branson, Missouri. They were going to do a Branson, Missouri toss during the Vegas I don't know if you remember the Jerry Lewis Telethon thing. And so they had some artists at Maltillis's Theater in Branson, and it was a theater I was familiar with because I had done a recording there with Amy Grant. It was a live pilot or something, and so I was familiar with the theater. So I go into this theater that I know. Two big Unitel trucks pull in, which was a truck company. They've got and they pull out all these cameras and set up, and all of a sudden, this theater that I was familiar with is unfamiliar as a huge TV studio. I had never been around that kind of thing. The show's over. They pack all the cameras back up. The trucks pull away. And I said, now that is pretty cool. So I looked into remote TV and I started doing sports, and that was kind of the history on that.
Well, that's great. And I really want to thank you guys for sharing a bit of your Saturday with us and kind of getting the message out there about what it is you do and the fun that you've created to help the members of your community, of the freelance sports community. Could not, when I reached out to you, Scott, I could not have envisioned, and actually, Toast, you actually put me in touch with Scott. I could not have envisioned the generosity that you guys had in your community down there. And I think it was something I really wanted to showcase. And Sarah and I really appreciate that you came on the show and talked about it. And we really want to help get the word out there. Sarah, you have the address that we're going to send for the shirts. And if any of our viewers had missed this before, you are selling some shirts to raise funds for this charity to help people out who need it right now, and really appreciate you doing that. And thank you both for making the time. Is there anything you want to say before we cut out, just to recap or to leave us with?
Well, I did want to mention the Toast TV YouTube channel that you're seeing down there. The other thing that you'll find there is the In My Room music video that the Dirty Merkins just recently did, where we're all in our own rooms and recording. We call it recording separately together. So we record separately and then we put it all together. And in the description, on the YouTube description, there is the link to the GoFundMe page that Mark Followill started. So that's while you're at Toast TV, watch our version of the Beach Boys song, and there's the link there to donate to GoFundMe.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Scott, anything you want to say?
Well, I just wanted to say thanks for having us on. The opportunity to promote Stevie Bucks is something I really appreciate. It's for so long it's been unorganized. I've been wanting to organize it beyond what it started as for quite a while. And the coronavirus slowdown gave me some time to do that. And having the opportunity to come on the Life, Love, and the Grind, hopefully will open some doors.
Sounds good. We really appreciate having both of you, and thank you so much for what you do for our community and to inspire people to do the same and really get out there and make a difference. And thank you both for what you do, and thank you for joining us today. We'll talk with you guys soon.
Thanks
Thanks
Rob.
much.
Thanks, Sarah.
See you, Toast.
See you, buddy.